I'm Magali Pesha, and today I'm coming to you with our activation method group coaching series. And this is a series of sessions that we're offering to the community. This is actually our last one, number 7. And today is about emotional goal setting. We've done a lot of other things in the 2 weeks before. And I won't even try to remember what all those topics are, but some of you have been here for some of the workshops. And we are putting recordings up in our Facebook page, Coaching Institute. So it's the Coaching Institute on Facebook. And that's where recordings will go up. So today's topic is very important to me because I think often it's a little bit misunderstood. People will often, from kind of the self-help world or from the coaching world or from any world, any galaxy, try to push their emotions as a way of creating states that fuel them, that help them. So, with the best of intentions, many of us, and I've done it and I used to do it all the time, just try really hard to kind of pump oneself up and have a certain emotion. And it takes a lot of work, and it's not really coming from a sort of organic, natural place. It's coming from like a top-down sense of ourself that we can force a certain emotional tone. And what I've found is that long run, we tend to energetically burn out from that and feel a sense of not really being ourselves, not being genuine, not being authentic, not being able to sort of last in that mood or that state that we wanted to have. So today's workshop is going to take a different approach to helping ourselves with emotional goals that assist us in whatever goal we have in our life. So I want to start right away on the topic of emotions. And I'm going to ask you all through the workshop to be really active in your chat box. So have your chat box open and also have a document you can write notes to yourself on. You want both of these places to write in. Looking at me, less important. Put the doc up and the chat up in your browser so you can really take notes. That's the most important thing. So I'm wondering if you would right now just check in with yourself and ask yourself, how do I feel? And ask yourself that question in as kind an inner voice as you can. And just take a moment to notice, how do you feel right now? Whatever comes to you. And write it in the chat box. One word, how you feel right now. I'm going to the chat to read. Oh my gosh, my chat keeps bouncing to the top and I'm not able to. Jeremy, I might need you to read emotions for me because, okay, got it. Proud, unsettled, calm, excited, overwhelmed, used up, frustrated, relaxed, uncertain, neutral, excited, interested, calm, lazy, exhausted, tired, anxious, energized, excited, ready, centered, good, great, calm, tired, stressed. So they keep going. I don't think I'm repeating them. Peaceful. I think those, but it's interesting what range of emotions that are being experienced right now by this group. And I'd like to also honor, if it was hard for you to sense what you feel right now, if that wasn't natural for you, I want you to really honor that noticing of that in yourself. Oh gosh. And I have that often. Often I will check in with my emotions and I'll actually be kind of like, I really don't know how I feel right now. I know I'm thinking about this thing. I know that maybe I want this thing, but it takes me a really long time actually sometimes to translate what I'm observing into an emotion. Now that's just the way I'm wired. Now there's other times where I'm highly emotional and the emotion is like glaringly obvious, but there's also times that emotions become very subtle. And in our coaching method, we like to look at this as a subtle experiencer of emotions or a big experiencer of emotions. And we find often, actually, it's really interesting in relationship coaching, often a couple will be that combination. One of them will be more subtle in experiencing their emotions, and the other one will be very big and kind of, I experience it as like a bursting out of emotions that are easy to read. So I don't know if any of you can sense into, are you a big emotional experiencer or are you a more subtle emotional experiencer? And I'm also wondering if, is it like, I don't know what word we could give it, weird or normal for you to check in on your feelings, on your emotions? Is that a weird or normal thing to do? To check and ask yourself, how do you feel today? Or right now, this moment? Is that weird or normal to do? And I'm having a little bit of a thing, Jeremy, with my chat that I might need you to actually be my reader. Here we go. We got some normal, weird, new. My emotions often check me. A little odd, strange. Often I don't think about it. Great sharing. And I say weird with great affection. I lived in Portland, Oregon for a long time. I feel like a Portlander, and there we love being weird, and I love being weird. So, and you know, often in our lives we use emotions almost to, like, we'll use emotional goals almost to cover up something that we don't want to have. So we might feel stressed and we're like, okay, bring on the peace, bring on the peace, bring on the calm. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But sometimes it's also really good just to feel that stress for a moment and then suggest to yourself that you bring in joy or peace or another healthy emotion. But we're never trying to deny ourselves what is here with us in the moment and just cover it up. And if I like could give you any takeaway right away from this workshop, is that you spend the next couple days checking frequently, like maybe every 2 hours, on what your emotions are for you right then. All right, so let's do a little energy connection practice now. And one thing that you might have noticed if you've been on more than one of these workshops is that I like to prepare us through meditations and practices that sort of set the tone for the self-coaching that we're going to do. And you might have even already experienced this little practice we're going to do now. It's one that all of the activation method group coaches lead people through, and we call it the energy connection practice. And so I'm just going to invite you to get comfortable, back straight. If you want to have your eyes open, they can be open. If you want to have your eyes closed, they can be closed. And just begin to take a few breaths. You've already been breathing, but bring your focus to your breathing. Notice how your breath feels as you inhale and as you exhale. And just take this moment now to connect with yourself. Whatever has been going on today before this is a time to drop in. Be with yourself now for the next hour, maybe a little longer, and give yourself some really needed attention. Now, taking that same caring focus on what's going on in your system right now, take that attention you have, that focus, that awareness, and expand it out, imagining the entire planet out in space. And just breathe there with that imagining of the entire planet. And all of that space, all the stars, all the galaxies, all the things out there in space. And also be with yourself and your breath. Now bringing that wide open spaciousness into this hour, this moment, this time with yourself, with this group, with this subject of emotions and emotional goals. Set an intention for yourself. Maybe a way you want to feel over the next hour, maybe something you want to learn or discover. And just set that intention for yourself right now. And taking a deep breath in, as you breathe in, bring your attention to the whole group. Bring your attention to yourself, and exhale, letting everything just relax. And one more inhale, bringing that attention, that focus, that caring in. And an exhale where you just let go and relax. And now we're just going to open our eyes. And staying in this atmosphere of your relaxation, of your meditation, we're going to do another little exercise, again, preparing us. And I'm going to give you a scene that you can relate to in yourself, however you relate to it. There's no right or wrong. We will all be different. We'll all have various experiences. But as I give you this scene to relate to, and there's going to be 4 of them, I'm going to encourage you right now to allow your senses to open up. Your sense of smell, your sense of sight, your sense of thinking, of knowing, of imagination, your sense of touch, your sense of texture, your sense of feeling. Okay, all of those senses, anything you can think of as a sense is going to be open now. And just bring to mind a garden full of flowers, whatever that means to you, and just notice it with your senses open. A garden full of flowers. Noticing whatever your senses give you to notice. A garden full of flowers. Is there an emotion or a feeling that you sense right now with whatever other imagination, smells, sounds, sights have come up? Is there a feeling or an emotion when you think of a garden full of flowers? Okay. So just record that, whatever that feeling was with the garden. And now imagine a coffee shop, being in a coffee shop. And let your senses open, being in a coffee shop. And just allow yourself to notice what shows up in your inner landscape when you imagine being in a coffee shop. And also notice, is there a feeling, is there an emotion when I imagine being in a coffee shop? And record that for yourself. Now, let's go somewhere totally different. Imagine being somewhere where the ground is covered in snow. Somewhere that you can remember or think about or imagine, a place where the ground is completely covered in snow. And be there for a moment. Notice all of your senses in this place where the ground is covered in snow. And notice what your emotion is, feeling, as you bring all your senses to imagining the ground being covered in snow, this landscape that you can imagine. And record that for yourself. Remember that. Now, one more place to imagine. And I don't know what your place will be, but it's the hottest day of the year. The hottest outdoor temperature you can ever remember. I have no idea how old you are or if it's just totally imaginary or you can remember a very hot day. But just imagine that very, very hot day and open up all your senses to it. Sense of smell, sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of knowing, sense of imagining. And notice how you feel. Notice any emotions as you open up to experience this very, very hot day. Now record that for yourself. Remember that feeling on the very, very hot day. Opening your eyes, staying in the atmosphere of this imagination, this sense of discovery. Write down for yourself, what did I feel in the garden with flowers? What did I feel in the coffee shop? What did I feel in the snowy landscape? And what did I feel in the very hot day? And you might have had a memory and remembered a feeling from the memory. You might have had one sense be very strong. You might have just had words. If it was words, it was a lot of thinking, then allow yourself to connect an emotion to that thinking. Use your imagination. It's a wonderful thing. Our imaginations are our greatest helpers. And nothing in our world would really exist without our ability to imagine it. And we can use our imagination to help us with our emotions and to help us with anything we want to achieve. Okay. And when you're ready, I would love to know, we're having a little thing with Diane. Sandy, I think you're maybe pressing on the computer as in the chat. It's showing up a lot of minus pluses. So Gary shared sweet aroma, hustling, peace, exhausted. Wow, so the garden was the aroma, the hustling was the coffee shop, the peace was the snow, and exhausted, I'm guessing, was the hot day. Very interesting. All right, so isn't that a kind of cool way to sense our emotions through our imagination? And how much often we will associate, like if we really loved a certain town because we were so happy there and maybe we were with good friends and we ate something delicious, then we think of that town and we think, oh, that's the happy place. That's a great place. But if you were somewhere and you got suddenly a horrible toothache and had to go to an emergency dental appointment and get a root canal, you'll probably associate that city you were in with a lot of pain, right? And that's the place I feel like crap. And yet neither one are true, right? The happy place doesn't necessarily stay a happy place. It's just what you felt there. All right, so I'd like to know also if during that relaxation process, anyone set a powerful intention for themselves for this workshop, for this hour together, what your intentions are, what you feel you most want to kind of focus on in yourself right now. Let's be clear about that. You probably thought of something when we did the energy connection practice. Great. Connecting to myself, inspired abundance, to be confident, feeling positive, getting myself to a place where I can help a particular person. Wow, so there's already, in those intentions, you can already see how there are some goals emerging. So let's get clear for a moment, all of us, about what a goal is. We use the word goal a lot in coaching, but what is a goal? And one way I like to think about goals, and I'd love to hear how you like to think about goals, but one way I like to think about them is that a goal is a way we communicate to ourselves something that we're wishing to create more of. So a goal can be in any part of life. I can have a relationship goal that I want to have more connection with another person. I can have a communication goal that I want to be a clear speaker. I could have a goal to finish my taxes, or a goal to run a marathon, or a goal to clean my garage. You know, whatever it is, a goal is something I'm wishing to create. And it can be in any part of life, and it can also be in our emotions. And often we do have emotional goals we're not aware of. They're unconscious, and then we don't pay enough attention to them. So let's think for a moment about, have you ever had a really bad vacation? Like, have you ever gone away for the weekend with a family member or a friend, and you were really surprised that it was not as enjoyable as you had intended it? Probably, I'm just guessing, I mean, it might have been that you got a flat tire, but more likely someone was in a bad mood, or emotions didn't match up in some way, and there was an emotional tone that took away from the goal you had for the weekend or the vacation. And that can be the same for an accomplishment at work, or many parts of our life. We can have a goal and then we reach it and we're like, oh, that wasn't as great as I thought it would be. I worked really hard, I made it happen, I saved for the vacation, I showed up, but wow, it didn't go the way I planned. Oftentimes what's in the way, not all the time, but often what's in the way is things happen and we have an emotional reaction because we're human, or we don't even realize that someone else's emotion is contagious or our emotion is contagious. And after 2 days, it's just not working out. That vacation's not as good as we had hoped, right? So when we use emotions as helpers, I'm going to take you through a process to do that. We get good at calling in the atmosphere of an emotion we want and being aware of emotions that will help us. That doesn't mean pushing, driving, forcing an emotional state. Instead, it's kind of like a wish and an opening and a suggestion to ourselves. How do you feel? Oh, you're feeling sad right now? You know, you have ways to help yourself when you're feeling sad. Try those out. What are some options right now? Now I sound crazy, I'm talking to myself. But you get what I mean, that like if you are able to check in with your emotions in the process of any goal you have, taking actions towards that goal, and you realize your emotions are really limiting you. Maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're distracted, maybe you're sad, maybe you're angry. When you realize that and you work towards bringing in emotional helpers that put you back into the emotional goal that you're about to create to help you with that thing you're working on, taking action on, then you're not in denial of the negative emotion, but you're able to work with it, to transform it, to heal it, and to create more of the emotional state that will help you. So let's look at a goal you have. What is a goal you have in your life? So it could be anything. Okay, great. To lose weight, to be a coach, discovering a spouse. Did I read that right? Discovering a spouse? I like that if I read it right. To publish my book, to be more radiant in the world. So get very specific about that goal. Well, the process will help you get specific. Write down for yourself a complete sentence about your goal. And by the way, Emma, your baby is beautiful. I'm so enjoying looking at your baby. Okay. Awesome goals here. Everyone's writing down some great goals. So let's take time right now and feel free to close your eyes to imagine. For me, closing my eyes is kind of super important to imagine anything, but I know some of you can probably imagine things with your eyes wide open. So take a moment to imagine that that goal has been achieved. Whatever your goal is, I want you to imagine it's been achieved. Like for me right now, I was imagining I'm going to run a marathon. And I was imagining kind of that last moment of the marathon. I've never run a marathon, but I was imagining like, that sense of joy and fatigue and just victory at the end of the marathon. So that's what I would write down. So now you write down, how do you feel when you imagine the goal being achieved? How do you feel? This will be a good helper for you to understand what state might help you. Tingling, accomplished, amazing, joyful, happiness, abundance, proud, relief. Great. So look at what you're writing down, the emotion you feel when you imagine that goal being achieved. And now let's imagine some actions you need to take in like the close to the goal's achievement. Like if your goal was to find a girlfriend and be in a deep committed relationship with your girlfriend, imagine you've already found that girlfriend, you're not committed to each other yet, but you've been dating a while and you're going in that direction. Imagine the kind of things you're doing, the actions you're taking. So whatever your goal is, we're going to work backwards. We're seeing it complete. We're noticing the emotions when it's complete. And now we're taking like a step back to like 2 weeks or a month before the completion. What actions are you taking and what are you feeling now? We're working backwards. We call this sometimes reverse engineering, but I'm reverse engineering with an emotion and with a goal and with actions. Okay, so just think of a couple actions you're doing right before the completion of the goal, couple weeks, a month. If the goal is something that'll only take you a week, then you're looking at like day 6. Now, what emotions do you feel would help you, would be helpers during those actions? What would help you stay on task? What would help you if it's a relationship goal, like finding a girlfriend? What would help you when you have that girlfriend and you're on a date with her? What emotion would help you? If it's running a marathon and you're in some of the final runs before the marathon, what emotions will help you to train? If it's having a coaching practice and you're doing work on your website or you're having calls with people or you're doing outreach, what emotions would help you during those actions you take towards your goal? Okay. And focus is great. Let's see if there's even an emotion along with focus. Focus is kind of an emotion, but you can have angry focus, you can have joyful focus, uplifted focus, serious focus, you could have funny focus, you could have anxious focus. I know that one, anxious focus. I'm good at that one. Okay, calm focus, absolutely. All right, so now let's go a step further back towards right now. So you've got that goal in the future. You noticed what it was like as you're taking actions toward it. Bring it back a little closer to the moment right now. You're maybe 2-3 weeks into the future now. What actions are you taking? So if your goal was 2 months in the future, the completion, and we were just at about week 6, now let's go to like week 3, week 4. Are you taking different actions? Are they the same ones? And if they're different actions that you need to take towards the goal, and be really specific, like if it's exercise, will it be jogging 2 miles? Will it be weight training? Will it be Pilates? What will it be? If it's your business, it's like, oh, well, at the point 6 weeks forward, I'll be getting clients, but the point 4 weeks forward, I'll still be learning. You know, whatever it is, I want you to see this in gradations. And check out with these actions, are there other emotional goals that will support these actions? So it's really nice. What you're getting good at right now is checking out what emotions will support different actions I want to take towards my goal. Because every goal is made up of a bunch of different actions. Even if it's the same action over and over again, it'll feel different on different days. Okay, so you've got some good actions now and some good emotional helpers. Now we are going to, well, you've been sharing all along. I was going to take some time to share, but you've been sharing all along. I'm going to just read some of the shares. Let's all read each other's shares. Still going through a learning curve at 4 weeks. I will feel it will feel hard and frustrating. At 6 weeks of website and creating multiple videos, etc., I will feel experience and practice. So, okay, when you're at that 4 weeks, if all you could sense is that it would be hard and frustrating, what emotions will help you when an action feels hard or frustrating? That's what really matters here. So just let's all of us imagine that. Let's all be a support to anyone in the group who feels that something will feel hard or frustrating or difficult. And in yourself, imagine when I feel that something is really difficult, because I'm sure you've had experience in the past. We've all had times where something felt hard and difficult. What was an emotional helper that helped you, and how did you find, this is the next part, I'm skipping forward. How did you find resources to bring in that emotional helper? So let's see what you say. Faith, courage, breathing, love, trust, patience, visualize, acceptance of the emotion, journaling, do it and don't fear. Okay, so whatever hits home for you that is the emotional helper when something is frustrating or difficult or hard, whatever that is for you, let's just imagine, how do you invite it in? So if it was faith, if it was peace, if it was a courage or joy, how do you invite that in? Let's start with a memory. Do you have a memory of that emotion, the emotional helper? So if your emotional helper is love, what's a memory you can call up of love that helps you get into that atmosphere? If your emotional helper was courage, maybe you have a memory of courage. Maybe you can think of a human who you think is very courageous. Or maybe you think of a person who's very peaceful if your emotion was peace. So we're inviting in our memories, our past experience to support us to get into the atmosphere of the emotion that helps us. And let's look at whatever now you're going to really set your emotional goal. So you've got your big goal. Let's look at 3 emotions that will help you in getting to your main goal. The goal that's an action that some people wrote it was about losing weight. Some people wrote it was about a business. Some people wrote it was about finding a boyfriend or girlfriend. Some people, hey, maybe I should connect the two, the one that said boyfriend and the one that said girl. No, who knows? Maybe you're in different parts of the planet. But so let's look at the emotional helpers for whatever your goal is. Look at those actions you wrote down. What emotion will help me to take those actions on week 2, week 3, week 4? You can go more minutely, but you looked at 2 different phases already. Okay, we've got some emotional helpers written down here: persistence, self-compassion, calm, steadiness, forgiveness, doing, progress. So check if the words like doing, progress, drive, do they have an emotion along with them that's positive, that's helpful? Safety, vulnerability. Now these are helpers, emotional helpers you're writing down for your actions towards your goal. And this is how you create emotional goals that will assist you in any action-taking goal, right? Now we can also just have an emotional goal on its own. So that's phase 2. But feel free to skip ahead and just have an emotional goal. Okay, awesome. Got a lot of good emotional goals here, emotional supporters, emotional helpers. Now, let's just brainstorm for yourself. Choose one of those emotional helpers, just one, your favorite one. So if you wrote down like calm, trust, and joy, choose which one you really want to empower and figure out right now. Okay, and brainstorm for yourself 4 ways that you can create more of that emotion, just calling it in, the atmosphere of it. And here are some hints. Memories, which are just times in the past you can recall. People that seem to personify that, or animals, or places in nature. Music, think of your senses. Think about when you used your senses to feel into the flowers, the coffee shop, the snow, the hot day, and look to your senses to support you in creating this emotion. Our senses are very connected to our emotions. So what senses? It might be movement, it might be hearing, listening to something, it might be singing, it might be talking about something or writing something. What actions, what senses, what metaphors or imagination helps you bring in the atmosphere of that one emotional goal you have right now, that emotional helper? And think of 4 ways, brainstorm 4 ways to create more of that emotion. And now you're not pushing it, you're not forcing it, you're not faking it. You're authentically inviting it to meet you. You're authentically, imagine like emotions as if they were, I'm gonna sound really woo-woo here for a moment. So, but I think you guys know I'm pretty much that way. So just imagine emotions are like these beautiful, looking for the word, energies or spirits or angels or clouds, but they're beautiful and they're floating all around the atmosphere. And you can just call one over to you. Like, hey, you, that one, yeah, that really happy one, come visit me a little while. And these things you do, what you're brainstorming now that you'll do to invite that emotion, it's like, it's just there. It's just some frequency. Somebody's having it. Probably thousands of people in the world are having that emotion, and you're going to tune into it. You're going to invite it to come land on you and be part of your system and help you to take action, to do what you want to do, to create your wishes, your dreams, your mission, your purpose. All right, we've got some great ideas here. Now think of 4 things you're going to do to call in that one emotion. Oh, here's something I do that will crack you guys up, I think. If any of you have ever come to meditation group, well, actually, it cracks me up. It didn't make my husband laugh at all. But so before I lead meditation group, I prepare in several different ways. I want to have a certain emotion, and emotional helpers for me for meditation are obviously like serenity, calm, grounded, joyful, right? But what do? I play music. And it's not always peaceful music, but music puts me into a flow state and makes me feel connected. And some people listen to music all day long. I don't. I listen to music specifically to prepare to lead meditation group. That's the like main time I listen to music in my day. And then I sit and meditate also to prepare. But it's interesting how it's not always, the actions aren't always that reflective. So let's say you really want to feel focus, like a joyful focus. What might help you might be doing push-ups, right? Yeah, it's not necessarily like using your brain is going to help you. It might be using your body. You might want to feel really romantic and passionate and like trusting on that level, but you're going to use your mind, not your body, to get there. So it doesn't have to coordinate perfectly. That's, I think, the point I'm getting to. Ooh, essential oils. That's a good one. Yep. All right. So I think we've got our 4. Who would like to, does anyone feel like they need a little help and want to ask a little help of me and the group? Just raise your hand if you do. And Jeremy, you're going to notice if anyone has their hand raised. And oh man, I just noticed how many people are here. Now I've got to try not to get anxious because we've got almost 570 people here. Okay, see, I shouldn't look at that thing. I shouldn't look at those numbers. Okay, do we have some hands up, Jeremy? Let's call on somebody who wants to share. Maybe they don't know. Maybe you don't know how to, and you need the help of the group to brainstorm ways to bring in the atmosphere of that emotion, to like grab that frequency and say, oh yeah, I get to be in this frequency too. And it's going to help me take action.
Hey, let's say hi to Michael.
Hi, Michael. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Now I see you. Great.
Yeah, I'm definitely having. My wife is always. I used to be very serious into goals and affirmations. I used to write them all out and everything years and years ago, and I had great success. And then I kind of fell off the totem pole, and now I'm trying to get back. And a book that I'm actually reading right now is called "Success Is Not an Accident," and it's been a long journey. It's taken me a year to just read through this first 2 chapters and even trying to put together a mission statement. And I just can't find that emotional, what's the word, emotion to really make me want to do this, to motivate me. I mean, even my wife was like, come on, you got to put the pen to the paper. If you don't,
okay, so tell me the goal. Tell me what the goal is. Pen to paper. Is it that you're finishing some kind of project or writing?
No, I mean, it's most of my goals are around my business. I'm in the financial services. So
okay.
I mean, one of my big dreams since I was a kid, my father took me and my family to Italy. And one of my biggest dreams to leave a legacy behind for my mom and my sisters and all my nieces is to buy this beautiful villa that I've always dreamed of having in Capri, Italy. And ever since I've been there, I just fell in love with the place. And it's just been a 30-year goal, and I still hold on to it as dear today as I did 30 years ago when I first saw these properties. And it's something that to me, that's my legacy. I've never had a child, and I do have a stepson, but that is my legacy for my stepson, my nieces, so that I could leave something behind that when I'm gone, they could say, my uncle, my stepfather, he left this for us. And that's something that's
beautiful.
Very,
that's really beautiful. That's all. I wish you were my uncle. Yeah. um, that sounds great. Okay. I got to get back from that villa in Italy because I just went there with you. Okay. So it sounds when you talk about it that you have a lot of passion about that goal.
I do.
Oh, so tell me about some of the actions that will take you closer to that goal. So now we're breaking down the goal into like the smaller
Yeah, the
actions.
habits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going my work. I mean, going out. I try to not. I don't want to come off selfish and say, yeah, I'm in the financial service for money, but we all work to make money. But
Sure.
the more families I go out and help, the more it's going to help me to obtain that goal. So I try to focus on helping others financially, so that ultimately, with the success that I have with that, it will give me enough of money to do what I want in life.
Great. So when you narrowed it down to, because you don't have to tell me the details, but I'm sure there's a lot of action items you have on your list for getting each family or clients. You got to take certain steps.
Yes.
So did you notice that there are some emotional helpers that would help you take those steps that are very specific to you, not a general affirmation you read in a book or you find from someone else, but for you? What are your emotional helpers?
Well, one of the things that in my I don't know, that's where the roadblock starts.
Okay, so imagine a time when you were doing one of those work actions and it was going really well. You felt
Okay.
good about the way you were showing up. Because I just want to know more about how you're wired. Can you find any emotion there when you remember that time?
I felt awesome to be able to sell the importance of that this young guy decided to want to protect. He doesn't have a wife or kids, and I was able to help him show him the importance of it, so that there's no financial burden on your family if anything happened. And he's like, yeah, and I explained it to him in a way that sold the importance to him, and he went ahead with it, and now he's all happy and everything, and it made me feel good that I was able to sell them on the importance of getting certain financial products and stuff like that. So it felt great. It's just like, wow, great. You're just like me.
Okay, good. So a lot of joy comes through you, and to me, the word importance, it's also kind of pointing, as you say it. Tell me if I'm right or not. That there's a clarity that comes in, that you help a person see that planning and being responsible is important.
Yes, that is.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
important.
Yeah. So can clarity or importance have a certain emotion to it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really great emotional goal, clarity. And
Clarity.
anything that importance, like we can make any word really have an emotional tone to it. So importance might be prioritizing, holding something as special, just like you hold that vision of owning that home in Italy as special.
Yes.
It's like, it's saying, this is really worth it. So let's see what others share with you too.
Okay.
Can anyone else, you guys have gotten to know Michael a little bit, can anyone else suggest what you see as maybe being an emotion that might help him? Worthy. Lori wrote worthy. Anyone else? And we're not telling Michael, you should feel this. We're just brainstorming as a group, like, this might help you. Check it out. And you've got homework from the whole group, Michael. I'm gonna read some of these to you, and you're gonna check out if any of them would help you. Joy, celebration.
Passion. Oh, I like that word. Passion.
Passion,
Someone go passion. I
self-worth.
like that. Commitment. Yes. Being
Okay.
committed. Yeah, I like that word too. Definitely.
Okay.
That's
All
something
right.
I kind of lack. Being committed, consistent every day.
Okay, great. Focus, mission, passion, and trust. Energized, someone said. Self-belief.
Belief.
So you don't have to know yet which emotion is your biggest helper, but when we get a list of 4 or 5 that feel like they might be, then the homework is to see what it's like to experiment before you start those work actions, to call it in. So let's pick one right now to work with, Michael. What's one for you?
I definitely like commitment because
Commitment.
yeah, that definitely, and being and passion. I'm writing out my my mission statement, and one of the words, words, beliefs that I want to incorporate was being positive, being passionate. I mean, which I am in my. So yeah, and definitely being committed. I definitely, that's something I'm not always committed. I'm not always or
Great.
consistent.
Great. So your homework is to experiment with memories, sensory things, like what would be committed smell like? What would the texture of it be like? What would committed be like as a movement? You know, what is it like to walk like commitment? These are all ways you can kind of get into the atmosphere of commitment. So it's not just something you're pushing on yourself. It's actually something you spend 2 minutes going, okay, I'm just gonna imagine that emotion right now and the way I can kind of bring it into my system through my imagination. Okay, so you got your homework. Are you good?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
you. Good to meet you. And it's interesting, guys, how have you ever noticed how the emotions that we might pick for our emotional goals, look at your emotional goals right now. Do you think other people might describe you that way? Because I mean, I don't know Michael, but just listening to him for a little while, I was like, it was interesting that the emotions that he kind of went to as helpers, he already sounded to me like he had quite a bit of that in him. So it's interesting to notice how we do have a tendency to go towards certain emotional states that we find beneficial. But then when we have a goal and we have to work really hard on something, sometimes that goes out the window for some reason. And we forget those core emotional, kind of the emotional values that empower us. You probably have some general emotional values that empower you. Now, I've got to go back to my notes because I don't want to miss anything that's important here. All right, well, I'm going to give you guys the same homework as Michael got. Are you willing? What are you willing to commit to around your goal and your emotional helpers? Is there a way that you could take 3 to 5 minutes a day for the next week to know what your goal is? Stay with just one for the week. Don't have 10 goals. One you're focusing on, one you're prioritizing, one that you really treasure, one goal. Have maybe 2 emotional helpers. And for 3 to 5 minutes, just practice calling in those emotional helpers. Do it before you need to take actions towards your goal. So if you don't start working till 1 p.m., try to set a timer to do this at 12:45, because you want to try to bring in that state. And it's just think this is an experiment. I'm practicing. And if it's hard for you to feel what you're feeling, to notice it, well, even if it's easy for you, I also recommend another homework is to set a timer, maybe once an hour, every 2 hours, where you just ask yourself in as kind and gentle a voice as you can, internally, you ask yourself, what are you feeling right now? What's your emotion right now? And just notice, what's your emotion when you're exercising? What's your emotion when you're making breakfast? What's your emotion before you go to sleep? What's your emotion when you wake up? We all have these emotions all the time. But when we notice them, it can actually really help us to create deeper emotional goals. Like I realized I've got some really great, powerful emotions right when I wake up in the morning. It's like my emotional strength of the day is in that first half an hour of being awake. And I realized doing this work that the emotions I have when I'm tired at night are not my goal emotions. They're not the good ones. They're not the fun ones. So I start to think, okay, so how can I bring that time of day where my emotions are really helpful to me? How do I bring those in to the actions I want to take? How do I spread that throughout the rest of my day? And that's another really great way to develop deeper insight. Does anyone have a share or a comment, or would you like to declare your commitment to your emotional helper right now in the chat so everyone can see it? What maybe what your emotional helper is and the things you're going to do to call it in? Are you ready to commit once a day for 3 minutes? Are you ready to check in on your emotions? Really stand in your own power right now and make that commitment to yourself, because your emotions really, they matter to you. They matter to you more than they matter to anyone else. And you know what? When we don't kind of own this responsibility, then we often, maybe not you, but I know I will, just allow other people's emotions, frequencies of emotions that I don't even like, to land on me and sort of run my world, in a sense, run my inner world. So this is a very much an energetic, empowering way to be. And it's not pushing or placing other people's emotional goals on yourself. This is about feeling into what's the most empowered emotional goal for you, and then how you call it in. Okay, we've got some great commitments here. And I think for these days, this is very needed. When there is a big emotional frequency of fear or stress in the world, even more so, more than ever, being able to understand ourselves and invite peace, strength, compassion, love, courage, all of these great emotional helpers into our experience, it's never been more needed. And of course, it's not going to just benefit you, right? Emotions are contagious. So how many other people in your life do you guess will benefit when you use your emotional helpers to take action towards your goals? How many people? Loads. Everyone. Yeah. And like, if anyone's ever been at home with kids, we have 5 children, and for a long time I was their main caregiver at home every day. And I really got it from that experience as a mom that my emotions were very contagious. And that was one of my best emotional trainings that life could ever give me, was being a mom at home raising kids, because it became crystal clear that I'd have 5 other people amplifying my emotions. And so I better choose well, right? And so people do show us that people in our life are mirrors. It's also really, really helpful to notice when you're an empath and you're picking up on someone else's emotion, right? Have you ever had that when you check in and you ask, how am I feeling? You might want to notice, is this my feeling? Or did I just grab that from the last person I talked to? Or did I take it from Facebook because I saw a lot of sad things on Facebook? You know? And just notice, is it mine or is it someone else's? Do I want their emotion, or can I give it back to them? And just being aware of that, just thinking about that, is very powerful. The next step would be really feeling what you want to feel and getting good at feeling it through the whole body, bringing in all your senses. But the first step, just thinking about your emotions, is amazing. And another amazing question around emotions to ask yourself, if you do notice you've got a negative emotion that landed on you, that you didn't even know you were catching it and grabbing onto it, ask yourself, how do I feel about this feeling? How do I feel about this feeling. So let's say you're feeling stress and you realize, oh, I was just reading the news and I'm feeling the stress of the world right now. Ask yourself, how do I feel about feeling this stress of the world? So how do I feel about the feeling I'm having? And if you notice the feeling is not yours, it came from the news article you read, or it came from suffering of someone you love. You also get to be aware of how you feel about the feeling. So let's say I notice that I'm feeling sad, and then I ask myself, how do I feel about feeling sad? Oh, I'm irritated. I'm actually irritated that I'm feeling sad. Okay, I need to recognize my irritation. And now what emotional helper is going to help me with that feeling about the feeling or about the feeling itself? And I can call in the atmosphere. I can invite patience to help me with my irritation and my sadness. And just like we've done, what is patience like as a sense? Oh, for me, it's smooth. It smells like jasmine. And I remember being very patient in an emergency room once. And I can bring that memory in, and that will help me to shift my feeling of irritation or sadness. There's some funny messages there. What would you recommend for days when it's harder to really get into this positive emotion? Well, I think just thinking of it as a practice you do, like taking down your expectation. You don't have to actually feel the positive emotion. You just get in the habit of inviting these helpful emotions in. And be proud of yourself, rejoice, celebrate that you've done that practice of inviting emotional helpers in. Celebrate that you've checked in on how you feel. All of these steps are very, very important. Having the positive emotion is actually, to me, less important than having the skill to know, how do I feel, and the skill to invite a more variety and more helpful emotions towards me. I've done this work before where I'm inviting a certain emotional goal in for about 3 weeks before I feel that emotion. And that does take perseverance and patience. But boy, when I got to really feel that emotion after 3 weeks of inviting it in to help me, it was incredible. It was like 4th of July fireworks. And that emotion, just to not be mysterious, was forgiveness. I was having a really hard time feeling forgiveness for someone who had really caused me some suffering in my life. And I had to work on it for weeks, if not a month. And I really thought maybe it'll never work, but I kept inviting the atmosphere of forgiveness in until finally it landed. And then it was 4th of July fireworks. All right, guys, it was so great to be here with you today. I want to give people the option, if you have 10 minutes to stay and share with other people. In a few minutes, I'm gonna put people, or actually Jeremy is gonna put people in rooms of about, well, we'll see how many people are left at that point, small groups.